If you've taken a previous programming course with me, this project's going to look familiar. I use it in pretty much every course. It's also the project that I use when I do demonstrations for maybe high school groups or summer tech camps for junior high students, even presentations to various civic groups on programming. We're going to create a dice roller where the user can click a button. It's going to roll a pair of dice. We'll see the images. We'll see the total that's rolled. And then the history will be presented in a list box with the most recent roll at the top. And we can clear that history. The premise I like to use for this is it's Thanksgiving weekend and we're going up to Grandma's house for Thanksgiving. But traditionally we have a big Monopoly game after dinner. As you're setting up the Monopoly board, your Rottweiler grabs the dice and swallows them. Now, Grandma lives in the White Mountains, which is kind of a remote area. It's a rural area. And the closest store that might be open on Thanksgiving that could have dice would be about a 3 hours round trip. So what do? Well, you could tear up little pieces of paper and put them in a hat, but you know that Uncle Joe's going to cheat, and he's going to have pieces of paper up his sleeve. So that's not a good option. And so instead, you grab your laptop, and in about a half hour's time or so, you can create a dice roller game, including the images. I provide the images for you. I give you both red and white die. I use the white die. If you want to use the red ones, you can. I give these to you just for maybe future projects, so you have those. And our typical restrictions are in place. You can only use things that we've already discussed in the course. Give you the storyboard. Give you a couple tips in terms of coding. You're going to code the roll button to generate 2 random numbers to simulate the rolling of the dice, and use the numbers to display the associated images. And then you also code the BTN clear history button to clear the contents of the list box. Make sure you test thoroughly that every number comes up. You're going to submit this to the instructor along with your reflection worksheet. Let's take a look at the project in its execution. I start off with the dice images just having a logo of Roll'em on it. We click the Roll'em button, and I rolled a 3 and a 4, and you hear a little sound effect there, hopefully. Let me play that again. So there's a little wave file that I make available to you through the Canvas website. You can bring that in, play the dice roll sound as you roll the dice. So each time we roll, we get the latest roll at the top in our list box. You want to use the insert command for the items collection to insert it at index 0. This also helps guard against Uncle Joe trying to cheat by saying he rolled a 6th his last turn when really it was a 3 and a 4 for a 7. The fact we're showing the total will help little 6-year-old Billy, who kind of struggles with the math sometimes in playing Monopoly. So this is actually maybe better than the real Monopoly dice. You want to make sure when you're testing that every number does come up on each dice. And then there's a clear history. We click that. We're asked to verify that yes, we want to clear. If I say no, nothing happens. But if I do say yes, it does clear that history. That's the project. Let me show you the storyboard. The dice images that you'll import are actually 600 by 600 pixels. I made them that big for use on an iPad tablet project I was doing. We're going to use them at 300 by 300. So I created 2 picture boxes that are 300 by 300 and set the size mode to stretch image. They will still look great being stretched down. I have a label called LBL roll, a button called BTN roll. My list box is named LST roll history, and then finally a button of BTN clear history. Pretty simple interface. Now I'm going to suggest that you pause the video here and try this on your own. And if you struggle, come back as always and watch my code. I'll walk you through my code. I'm not going to walk you through the creation of the interface. You should be able to do that at this point. And I've given you the storyboard to assist you with that. In the project, I added a resource file, a .resx file that I named audio.resx, and in it contains the dice roll wave that's made available to you through the Canvas course site. Designed the interface according to the storyboard that I presented earlier, and then here's the code. I have 3 global variables or class level variables, so I dimmed R&D as random equals new random. That's my instance of the random class object. And then I have my 2 dice, last die 1 and last die 2 equaling 0. And I'm going to use those to just inform the user if they happen to roll the same roll, they wouldn't see the dice change. So if that happens, I'm going to bring up a dialog box that simply says they've rolled the same number again. Happens once in a while, so it's good to cover that base. And then my procedure for the btenroll.click. I'm going to play my audio file, so mycomputer.audio.play, and then myresources.audio.dice_roll. And my audio play mode is background. I'm going to set die1 as an integer variable equals rnd.next6. That's going to give me a number between 0 and 5. Add 1, I get a number between 1 and 6. And do the same thing for die2, and then my total are those two values added together. So die1 plus die2. Then I want to show the first dice. And so here I'm going to select case die1, case 1. I'm going to set the image to my resources.white_dice_1. Let me go back to my user interface for a minute. I'm going to bring up the properties for the first picture box. And if I go to the image property, you'll see I imported those dice images. So I imported both the red and the white. I'm only using the white, but we have red_dice0. That's the roll 'em, down to red_dice6, and then we have the white ones, white_dice0 through white_dice6. So those are in my resource file for the project. I imported those before I created the audio resource. So back in our code, for those 6 different cases of the integer being generated, I'm simply showing the appropriate white dice image. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Case else, I do 0, which would be the logo. That should never come up because we should only get values 1 through 6 from our random number generator. So that's how I did the first dice using select case. Now, the second one I did a little bit differently. Here's the second one. Pick die2.image equals myresources.resource_manager.getObject, and I did an interpolated string of white_dice_ and then the value of die2. That gives a string that will then look for that image and display it. So we're here, we did 14 lines of code. We can do it with 1 line of code. And you can choose to do both of them with select case or do both of them with the myresources.resource_manager. It's a bit more sophisticated, not something I would normally expect a beginning student to be able to do. I would pretty much expect that you'd use the select case. But I'd like to show you some tips and tricks along the way. And we've seen that before. Then I want to show the roll and the history. So LBL roll.text equals, and again, interpolated string of you rolled A and whatever the value of total is. And then the history, LST roll history.items.insert at index 0, get an interpolated string of the value of die 1 plus value of die 2 equals and the value of total. So that's going to go to the top of the list box. Now here's where we're going to check to see if they rolled the same number again as last time. So if last die 1 equals die 1 and last die 2 equals die 2, they rolled the exact same numbers on both of the dice, we're going to do a message box that says you just rolled the same value again and show what that value was. That's a 1 in 36 chance. So like I said, over the course of a game, that's going to happen a few times. And then, so we prepare for the next roll, I'm going to set last die 1 equal to die 1 and last die 2 equal to die 2. That's the rolling of the dice. The clearing of the history is very simple. We're going to show a message box. Are you sure you want to wipe out the history? That's my prompt. Title, please confirm. We're going to give yes, no, cancel buttons. We're going to put the result into DR, which is a dialog result value. And if DR equals dialog result.yes, so they clicked the yes button, then we will take LST roll history.items.clear. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.